50 years of peace protests, but how will our own generation's response to climate change today be viewed 50 years hence? That's the question posed in a new eco-documentary, The Age of Stupid, in which Pete Postlethwaite appears as an archivist trawling through old footage, i.e. today's news. After the Oscar success of Al Gore's film An Inconvenient Truth, this film is one of a new breed of inventive eco-documentaries. Our arts reporter Stephanie West has more.
Directors love Pete Postlethwaite. Steven Spielberg called him the best actor in the world. But the makers of this documentary were drawn by his green credentials. Theirs is one of several new films about climate change, and they needed a big name to play an archivist looking back on footage of our changing planet.
Big question, yes, is how could we willingly know that we were going into extinction and let it happen? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
After gathering stories across 4 continents, including that of these melting glaciers in Chamonix, the documentary makers say they started casting around for a famous but committed face to draw in the audience. They devised the role of a futuristic archivist to guide the viewer and found a perfect and willing candidate in Pete Postlethwaite, discovering he was giving his home in Shropshire an eco-overhaul, installing a turbine to generate his own electricity, and that he'd won local support for it.
So there's been no resistance to it, no. The council were very, very quick to say yes, you want a wind turbine, have a wind turbine. But they're not massive, they're only about as big as a telegraph pole, they're not a big deal.
A stack of documentaries about climate change is coming. At Sundance, the audience vote went to a docufilm about alternative energy, Fields of Fuel, and Leonardo DiCaprio's film The 11th Hour opens in the UK next month.
We face a convergence of crises.
It's a rule of thumb that a high-profile face helps to deliver the bitter pills being dispensed, so DiCaprio narrates throughout. With The Age of Stupid, despite the fictional element added by Postlethwaite's archivist, the makers are adamant that their film is still essentially documentary, and they're glad it's one of many coming out.
Well, I think the whole denial of climate change works on all sorts of different levels, and is one of the main problems with climate change, is that we deny it on all sorts of levels. And one of those ways we deny it is if, oh, there's too many films on this subject, or whatever. But, you know, it's the most important subject probably of all time. And so, you know, the fact that there's 2 or 3 documentaries looking at it in different ways, I don't see any problem at all.
Hey, take one.
And this actor, whose latest movie, Closing the Ring, is directed by Sir Richard Attenborough and who will star as King Lear on stage in Liverpool this year, agrees, which is why he signed up for a nominal fee. Oscar-nominated and known for playing his roles with understated power, he says in real life he simply doesn't like waste, which is why he stayed with friends rather than take the offered hotel during filming, and why he's making the changes at home.
No, it wasn't so much about being self-sufficient as about use of materials and stuff. What you actually would kind of move into another place, and we thought, well, if we're going to move to another place, and we're going to do it the way we want to do it, then let's do it properly.
J'ai l'impression maintenant qu'on n'a plus que 2 saisons.
And rather than go for studio funding, the documentary makers were self-sufficient, selling shares to raise the budget so they could take their time and visit locations in every season over a couple of years. The finished film will be unveiled in Cannes this year.
Stephanie West reporting.